Welcome to class, everyone. There are quite a few of you who are out today, several for COVID reasons, others for vacations or things like that. So hopefully this video will help you navigate through your draft and get you ready to submit it 1 week from today. You will notice from PowerPoint, this PowerPoint slide number 2, that we're doing 3 things. We're going to focus on Style Academy. We're going to do an internal or self-revision and then a peer group revision. So our Style Academy will deal with active sentences. If you click on the link here, it will take you to the lesson. There are 2 places in the Style Academy where it asks you to do activities. You'll need to do those. There's also another place where it asks you to, or it doesn't ask you, but I'd like you to record 3 strategies that you can use to get rid of your passive sentences and use more active sentences in your writing. And it's in the section where it talks about 3 steps dealing with the word nominalizations. In class today, we are going to revise your own essay first of all. And so I introduced this slide by suggesting that you want to always start large and then get small. So today's lesson is more of starting large and thinking of big issue problems that could be going on with your draft. I took some time to answer some of their individual questions. That's what that first bullet item is. And I also gave all the students the rubric for the report assignment. It's worth 100 points. I included a PDF version in today's resources, so please download it. Just as you go through it, make sure you understand the difference between a 10 and a 7. Since this is the last major paper you're going to be writing in 2010, I'm going to be grading you as like an end of the year professor would. That you have mastered so many different skills this year. So any kind of mistakes, you drop. So just make sure that you go through those 7 or 10 items and understand the difference between being proficient and highly effective. Another thing to keep in mind with your own draft is when you're revising, there's really only 4 general things you can do. You can add more specific content, you can add more quotes, you can add more resources to your paper. You can get rid of anything that's weighted, dead weight, so you can subtract. And that could be a word, it could be a sentence, it could be a paragraph. And you can move things around and think of more of organization, or you can zoom in and think of changing things, like changing the order of something, changing a word to a general word to something more specific. So keep coming back to these 4 words throughout the week as you are revising your essay. The next thing, this slide will talk about the difference between highly proficient and proficient, needs improvement, and unacceptable. Again, to get highly proficient in this assignment, I expect it to be exceptional college writing, not exceptional high school writing. There is a difference. One of the first things that I'm going to have them do in class is to look at their thesis sentence. And so please make sure you go through these 4 statements about a good thesis sentence and then use them to analyze your own thesis sentence in your draft. There's a bad example first and then a much better example underneath each blue characteristic of a good thesis sentence. The next thing I'm having them do is look at where they place their infographic. Remember, it needs to be strategically there. I included 2 examples of previous students' reports in your resources for today. One student actually created 2 infographics in the report. And so just to see the difference of what to do if you put the infographic within your report and how to reference or refer to it in your own writing. So think strategically about your essay. Where do you want it and why? That will be one of the things that I think about when I grade your paper, not just whether or not it's a good infographic, but is it specific and does it provide detailed information to me, and does it relate to, is it in the right place for the content of your draft? I would hope that the majority of you would place it within your paper, since the content should deal with some aspect or idea that you're talking about in your paper. In class, to get students ready for peer review, I wanted the students to help each other out by identifying where the introduction ends and the body of the paper begins. So I asked them to change the color of the first sentence of the body of their paper. And of course, it's not going to be that way on Monday when we submit this to turn it in. But for now, it just kind of separates the intro from the body. And then the other thing I had them do is bold the thesis sentence so that the people revising the essay they don't assume another sentence is the thesis sentence. And then I divided the students into small groups of 4, where each student took a role, student number 1 through 4. For you guys, in the perfect world, you can reach out to some fellow students that you know might not be here and ask them to give you some feedback. But this slide deals with the introduction itself. One of the things I pointed out to the students is a report doesn't necessarily have to have a hook like your previous research paper did in English 1010. If you do have a hook, it should not be more than 3 or 4 sentences in length. So don't think that you have to get your reader into the essay so much to have it meaningful for a report. Remember, you can just get to the point because you've got a specialized audience, not a more general audience that would have been used for your writing in 1010. But you do need to include relevant background information and kind of an idea of why we should care with a strong thesis that controls the introduction of your paper. The second student in each group, they were dealing with the body of the paper and how it is organized within each paragraph within the body of the paper. So I had students who were number 2 to just quickly read without giving feedback on the thesis, since that's what student number 1 is doing. But use that thesis to see whether or not the report actually proves what or uses content to support what the thesis will be. And the other thing I wanted the students to do in class is to make sure that there is limited quotations. Remember, you're not going over 5%. So if you can find a student who can proof your work as student number 2, they will focus on the body and the conclusion of your paper. Students number 3, you are reading the whole paper, but focusing on strengths and weaknesses. There are 6 questions here, like a handout where you can pick any part of a student's writing to give them feedback. And finally, student number 4, you guys are looking at the writing style along with the in-text citations matching up with the work cited. So those are the 4 people who will be doing groups. Just remember, by Wednesday, I want you to spend a couple hours working on the draft of your essay. And you'll notice also on this slide your other accompanying assignments that are due. In the perfect world, that I'll be coming in on Wednesday, the interview and your business letter. However, I will allow those to be on Monday, but that means you have a miserable weekend. So those are kind of goes over the lesson. I hope this helped you navigate through today's lesson. Thank you.